The room smelled like old bread and unfinished prayers. She had not opened the curtains in 11 days, not because the light hurt her eyes, though it did, but because the light meant morning, and morning meant another day she had not asked for. Her name had once meant something in this house. It was spoken softly, the way you speak the name of something precious. Her children used to call for her from every corner, layering her name over each other like music. Now the house held a different kind of sound. The sound of nothing. The sound of furniture that no longer moves because the people who moved it are gone. One to the city, one to a life she did not recognize, and one, the youngest, to a place from which no one returns. She had not planned to disappear. A pot of lentils, hands that touched her shoulder, and eyes that held a careful, measured pity. But pity has a short season. It flowers fast and wilts faster. And by the second month, the visits grew fewer, then rare, and stopped entirely. The world has its own hunger, and it cannot feed itself and the broken at the same time. She began to lose small things first. Her appetite, her sense of hours, the ability to remember why she had walked into a room. Then she lost larger things. Her patience with herself. Her belief that patience was worth anything at all. There is a particular cruelty in the suffering of a woman who was once strong, because the people around her cannot reconcile the two images. They remember her carrying everything, so they assume she still can. They do not see the hands trembling beneath the load. Her sister came from the neighboring town on a Thursday, which she would always remember, because Thursdays in her childhood had been days of small happiness. Market days, days when her father returned from the fields smelling of earth and effort. Her sister sat across from her and said, "You cannot keep living like a closed room." And she almost laughed, because she was a closed room. What changed was something small. She washed her face before sleeping. It sounds like nothing. It was everything. Because it was the first act of care she had offered her own body in longer than she could say. A closed hand slowly beginning to open. The mornings that followed were not beautiful. Let no one tell you that rebuilding is beautiful. It is slow, and it is ugly, and it smells like effort. She rose when the body refused. She ate when the appetite was silent. She sat at the table before she had any reason to sit at the table, because she had heard once, from an old woman in her village, that you do not wait for the feeling before you do the action. You do the action, and the feeling follows, limping behind like a child who overslept. She began to speak again. First to the cat that had stayed, the one animal in the house that required nothing from her but presence. Then to the garden, because plants do not judge the voice that tends them. Then to herself, quietly, in the early morning, in the language of someone learning to be gentle with someone they have wronged. She had wronged herself. She understood this now. Not with drama, with the plain, clear ache of recognition. There was a man in the village, very old, who used to sit outside his door each evening. He had outlived his wife, his brothers, one of his sons, and yet every evening he sat outside and watched the sky change. She had always thought it was emptiness that kept him there. She understood now that it was something else. It was the daily practice of witnessing, of saying with his presence alone, "I am still here. The world is still turning. I have not been finished yet." she started sitting outside her own door. Not every evening, not with joy, not at first, but with the quiet stubbornness of someone who has decided, without ceremony, that they will not surrender the last of themselves to grief. The neighbors noticed. They did not say much, but they noticed. And slowly, the way rivers find their way back to each other after a drought, connection returned. Not the same connection as before, something more honest, something that had been earned in the long dark. Her daughter called from the city one night, late, when the hour was blue and the stars were doing what stars.
Not the kind that arrives in a moment of fire.